Alan was a jobless loser who craved to play the hardest video game there was. When he chooses the hell difficulty mode on a shady game to fulfill his craving, he gets reborn as a commoner in a world of magic and swords, and finds himself in a real-life game with no tutorial and no retries. Alan is a hardcore gamer who doesn't even know what grass is. He spends all his time playing games in his room like a proper degenerate, then cusses out the games for not being difficult enough. He starts craving a game that is more difficult than him getting a girlfriend and decides to search the net for the most difficult game ever, with the most horrible balancing. However, the moment he hits the search button, his PC screen suddenly changes into an ad for a game that never ends. The ad asks Alan to join them in a fantasy world of sword and magic, and in his confidence that there is no game hard enough to satisfy him, which is what my ex also used to say, he decides to give it a try. He first gets the option to choose the difficulty level of the game, and after easy, normal, and extra difficulty, he sees the option of hell difficulty mode. Alan confidently picks the hell mode, which comes with a warning that he will face so much despair that he will not even have the time or energy to regret his choice. Alan shrugs it off, telling the game that he has heard this too many times, and locks in his choice. The game tells him that he needs 100 times more XP to level up in hell mode compared to normal mode, and then presents a list of character classes he can choose from. The easiest difficulty rating is for the swordsman and spear user, but the difficulty for classes like hero and demon lord is extremely high. However, the greatest difficulty rating is for the summoner class, and that is exactly what Alan is after. He picks the character class and finds that this will give him the social class of a serf, which basically means commoner in the game world. He also learns that the game is still in alpha testing, which makes him wonder how can he access it. But he is happy to become a game tester, so he accepts the terms and conditions. The moment he clicks the button, a bright light flashes from his monitor and Alan vanishes from Earth without a trace. The very next moment, he feels that he is in a dark and lukewarm ocean, and he starts enjoying the relaxing feeling. However, he immediately realizes that he should not be in any place that is dark and lukewarm, and things get even worse when he starts feeling things getting tight around him. He asks someone to take him out, and that is exactly what a woman in another world is doing. She pushes hard and pops the reincarnated Alan out of her womb, and he enters the game world from the lobby. He realizes that the game was not lying when it said it would take him to a world of swords and magic. But he still finds it hard to believe that all the Ice Guy anime he made fun of show real things. Alan can't say that out loud though, and he only keeps crying as his father holds him. And the game system welcomes him, saying that if he can overcome all the difficulties in his path, he will discover the principle of the world. 1 year passes since then and Alan completely owns the role of a baby despite being a 35-year-old jobless gamer inside. He can't speak yet, but he retains the memories and intellectual capacity of his past life, and he is really grateful for that. He has learned that his parents are serfs, and they live in a nameless village where they pay taxes to the local lord to do farming and stuff. His father in this world is Rodden, a hard-working family guy, and his mother is Therjum, a sweet woman in her late teens. Alan sees how romantic his parents are, and he knows that he will have some siblings soon. After having dinner one night, his mother puts him to bed and returns to finish her meal. And once he is alone, Alan decides to check out his stats. He summons the status window, but nothing happens, which is not a new thing. Alan is disappointed because no matter how many times he tries, he cannot make sense of how to use his summoner class, and he can't even summon his status window yet. Well, today is his lucky day, and when he half-heartedly summons the status window again, a book appears in front of him. He freaks out and screams loudly, causing his parents to come rushing to his room. So he immediately makes the book disappear before they can see it, and then pretends to be talking in sleep. Once they go away, he summons the book again that has his stats and details about his skills. He finds that he is a level 1 summoner with 2 skills called Summon and Create, that can level up the more he uses them. He also has some summons available to create, but right now he can only create H-ranked insects and beasts, and he feels that the difficulty level is really high for him. Suddenly, a random page in the middle of the book glows and opens. Alan is surprised when he finds a letter from Elmia, the god who created this world, apologizing for the delay in sending his grimoire that works as his status window. Elmia writes that since Alan chose a character class that is still under testing, they had to do a lot of paperwork to get his grimoire ready quickly. But now they hope he enjoys the game. Alan doesn't mind the delay too much, because he is more interested in exploring the game now that he finally has his grimoire. He returns to the summoning page and decides to summon some bugs. But no matter what kind of magic spell he tries to use, the bugs don't seem to appear. Alan decides to lock in because there are no tutorials in this game world, and he suddenly realizes that he might have to use the create skill before using the summon skill. He immediately proves his theory right by creating an insect card. But before he can summon it, he hears his mother approaching and pretends to be asleep. At this point, Alan is actually sleepy, and he decides to delay the summoning till tomorrow. The next day, while his parents are busy working, Alan decides to summon the bug he created last night, and small orbs of blue light fill his room before fusing together to take the form of a huge grasshopper. Alan is taken aback on seeing the huge bug, and he tries ordering it around. But it turns out to be a regular dumb bug that doesn't listen to anyone. Alan is disappointed and decides to check the bug's information in his grimoire. He finds that he can name the grasshopper, so he decides to call it Denka. He also finds that just summoning the grasshopper boosted his endurance and agility by 1 point. So he gets super excited and yells out loud. Derja comes to check up on him after hearing that, and when she sees the giant grasshopper, she freaks out and instantly crushes it under her feet. After a few days of experimenting with bugs, Alan creates and summons an H-ranked mouse that buffs his HP and agility. It also doesn't listen to regular commands, but has an ability called Scurry that it uses to run in circles when commanded. Alan has also figured out that he can hold 10 summons at once, and the stats he gets from them stack, which makes him much stronger than any baby his age. One day, as his mom is playing with him after handling all her chores, his dad comes home covered in blood. Derja is horrified to see that, but Rodden tells her that it is the blood of the great boar that he and other villagers hunted. Alan is curious to see the wild boar, so Rodden decides to take him to see it. As Alan rides his daddy's shoulders, he gets his first glimpse of the world outside his house. Rodden shows him a flock of flying monsters and says that they signal the start of the fall season. He tells Alan to become like those birds that are free to fly everywhere, and sky is the limit for them. Alan falls asleep with all that inspirational bullcrap, and once they reach their destination, Rodden wakes him up to see the great boar. The monster is much larger than Alan anticipated, and an entire team is working to carve it up. Just then, a guy named Gerda comes there and tells everyone to clap for their champion Rodden, who was their MVP in today's hunt. Rodden gets a bit shy on being praised, so he quickly moves on to introducing his son to everyone. Gerda is shocked when he sees a 1-year-old baby acting so polite, and he answers all his questions about monsters. Alan learns that the Great Boar is a C-rank monster that needs a team of 20 people to defeat, and that becomes his benchmark to become stronger. After 10 months of training with his summons, Alan finally levels up and unlocks new features of his grimoire as well as new skills. He can now create G-rank summons and also fuse them together. The number of summons he can hold at once has also doubled, and Alan acts smug because now he can double his stats quickly. The grimoire can also read his thoughts and note them down, which is another plus point. But he doesn't have much use for that. He wants to fuse some summons together, but he needs more mana for that. So he finishes dinner quickly and returns to his room. With his mana maxed out, he tries fusing 2 mice, but the grimoire tells him that he doesn't have enough mana for that. The same thing happens when he tries to create a G-rank summon, and Alan curses himself for choosing this hell mode. Time passes quickly, and Alan is 3 years old now. His maximum mana capacity has increased, allowing him to summon G-rank creatures and also fuse them. He fuses a G-rank insect with a G-rank animal, creating a G-rank bird that is smart enough to obey his commands and has the ability to perfectly mimic human speech. His G-rank insect summon is actually a frog, which shows that the author of this story failed his biology class. The frog has the ability to provoke enemies to attack it, while the G-rank mole can dig huge holes. Alan thinks that all his G-rank summons can be quite useful to defeat enemies, but his summon beasts are still a bit dumb, and he knows that he can't go into actual combat with them just yet. Suddenly, he hears a familiar voice and realizes that it is the dreaded time of the day when his friend Krina comes to play with him. She makes both of them pretend to be knights and fight a duel with wooden swords, and despite having his agility bumped up by his summon stats, Alan can't keep up with the pink-haired brat, who swings her sword like a pro. He doesn't even get the time to hold his ground, and Krina shatters his sword with her ruthless attacks. By the end of the day, Alan is lying on the ground, exhausted and defeated, and when his parents come home, Krina takes her leave. Alan also gets back up and takes some of his pregnant mom's grocery, and they head home together. During dinner, Alan suddenly asks his parents if he can help them with harvesting potatoes because Derja can't work much in her condition. His parents are shocked by this, but Alan assures them that he is strong, so he can help them a lot. Rodin and Derja tell him that he is a kid, so he should not be helping them with farm work just yet. They tell him that he will have to do it one day eventually. Until then, he should enjoy his childhood playing with Krina. Alan realizes the reasons behind his parents' concern quickly. Since they are stuck in the serf class forever, they think he will become a farmer like them on growing up, and they wouldn't want their 3-year-old son to do such a hard job. He decides to respect their wishes. But then Derja remarks that she has recently noticed him throwing rocks at the tree in their backyard. She wants to know why he is doing that. And Alan declares that he is training to protect his mother from the dangerous monsters that lurk in the forest. Rodin gets immensely proud on hearing that and lifts Alan up, who feels guilty about lying because he was just trying to see if he could learn other skills. Derja tells Alan to protect Krina along with her too, and he thinks that Tomboy isn't in danger. She is the danger. Rodin says that since both kids have fun playing knights, he is hoping that they do really well in their appraisal ceremony. Alan is curious about that, so his parents tell him that the appraisal ceremony is held at the age of 5 to find if children have any remarkable talent. And with the right talent, they might even be able to get out of the serf life. Soon after that, winter arrives, and now Alan can summon an insect for a whole day. He is proud of his growth, but then Krina comes to play with him, and he gets distracted. He gets his ass whooped. But that is a daily occurrence now, so no one is bothered with that. However, the grasshopper that he left out in the open gives Derja a jump scare, causing her to go into labor immediately. Rodin asks Krina to fetch her mom, and then gives moral support to his wife while Alan heats some water. He wishes that he had played some childbirth simulation games in his previous life because he has no idea what to do. But luckily, Krina arrives with her parents Matilda and Gerda just then. Matilda immediately takes charge of the situation and kicks the men out of the house. After a long night of labor, the men wake up to the sounds of a crying baby, and they run inside to find that Alan has a baby brother now. Derja asks Rodin to name him, and he names the boy Mash. Everyone is happy about that. But then Derja realizes that her husband named the boy after a monster. He gets nervous about that, but Derja starts laughing, easing the tense atmosphere. Alan feels strange at this and thinks that in his previous life, he was a jobless, bitchless loser, and in this life, he wants to clear this game and become the strongest player in this world. He is enjoying the family aspect as well and somehow hopes to uplift his entire family out of serfdom. A couple years later, Rodin takes Alan to the nearby village with him, and the young Alan is curious about the appraisal ceremony where they are headed to. Rodin tells him that the appraisal ceremony is a special event in which everyone participates, from the lowest ranked serfs to the highest ranked nobles as soon as they turn 5 years old. If someone has a good talent, they can rise above their social class. But there is a huge competition for that. Alan is curious about the last statement, so Rodin tells him that since they don't have internet, people do other fun activities to relieve boredom. And since they haven't invented birth control yet, those fun activities lead to a lot of babies. A lot of kids are turning 5 this year, including Alan and his best friend Krina, who is also heading to the village with her dad. They soon reach the huge village where commoners live, and Krina wants to awaken as a swordsman so that she can become a knight. Meanwhile, Alan's only focus is on the village that is far more prosperous than theirs. He notices that the commoners in this village are hygienic and well-groomed, and compared to them, the serfs look like a bunch of homeless junkies. He is surprised that they are letting serfs and commoners go to the appraisal ceremony together. But he can clearly see that nobody in this village likes the serfs. Soon, they reach the church, where the priests welcome the kids and their parents, saying that the gods give equal opportunity to kids when they come to this world. They begin talking about the legendary heroes of their country that were born as serfs. And now Alan finally realizes how the social classes and character classes of this game are tied. With that, the priests take everyone inside and stop in front of the altar. Alan notices the statue of the god of creation, Elmia, who sent a letter to him the other day. The priests then call the chief of the village forward with his son to start the appraisal ceremony. They tell the boy to place his hand on the crystal ball, and his stats will be displayed on the black rock behind them. The bowl-cut blonde goes ahead and nervously puts his hand in front of the crystal ball, and the black rock displays all his stats just like Alan sees in his grimoire. Bowl-cut boy has below average stats on everything except intelligence and luck, and he has the talent to be a merchant. Daddy Bowl-cut is overjoyed to learn that his boy has a talent, and Alan can't understand what the fuss is about. His grimoire pops up to tell him that not everyone has a talent, and he realizes that having a talent at all is a great achievement. He feels lucky that no one else can see his grimoire, and compliments the devs for this feature. Soon after that, other children start getting appraised. One unfortunate boy has no talent, but his dad still hugs him. Unlike my dad who disowned me when I failed a test. The next boy after him has the talent to be an axe user, and he is the first kid of the day to get an A on his stats. All the kids get appraised after that, and at the end, only Krina and Alan are left. The priests go with the policy of ladies first and call Krina ahead. She excitedly runs to the crystal ball, and as soon as she places her hand in front of it, it emits a blinding light. Her stats get displayed on the stone monument, and the priests are left flabbergasted because Krina has the talent to be a sword lord with S rank attack power. Her dad is delighted at the idea that his daughter is going to pull his family out of serfdom for good, and Alan thinks that now it makes sense why she is so incredibly strong. Finally, it is his turn to get appraised, and the crystal ball glows very softly once before shutting down and then exploding into a light even brighter than Krina's. Alan is excited, thinking that his parents will know how awesome he is now. But his dad turns to the priests because he can't read. The priests sadly tell him that his son has no talent, and Alan calls that AI. He runs to the stone monument and finds that all his stats are E-ranked and his talent is just a CAPTCHA code or something like that. Alan starts cussing the devs for making spelling errors in something so important. But then he feels his dad's gentle hands on his shoulders, telling him that they should return home. His parents accept the fact that their son is talentless, and they tell him that it is not a big deal because they will always be proud of him. Alan feels happy to be born in such a loving family, even though they are too broke. Later that night, he begins thinking that his stats must be capped at E rank because he chose the hell difficulty mode. While others would lose hope at this, Alan only gets pumped up, because he always wanted to play a game that would make him cry with its difficulty levels. However, he is still not over the text glitch in his talent column and decides to write bad reviews for the devs. The next day, Alan heads to Krina's house with his parents and notices his dad looking irritated for no reason. Even at the party thrown by Krina's parents, he keeps sulking and pouting, and Gerda seems to be irritated by him as well. They start being passive-aggressive with each other, and Rodden tells Gerda to stop acting immature and celebrate his daughter's massive talent. Gerda lashes back at him, asking how dare he say that after declaring that he is going to snap the ties between their families. Everyone else is shocked by this, and Rodden begins explaining that Krina has extraordinary talent that can make her a noble one day. He tells Gerda that he should stop socializing with poor serfs and make connections with the high society instead, and Alan realizes that his dad is trying to do his friend a favor that he never asked for. The two men start fighting about Rodden's selfish, selfless decision, and Alan gets worried that the fight will become too serious. He asks Krina to ask them to stop, and she pulls out her wooden sword instead. Luckily, she doesn't need to use it as their mothers take charge of the situation and stop the two dudes from fighting. Alan asks Matilda if Rodden and Gerda always fight like this, and she says that they used to be like the old Goku and Vegeta, but they have calmed down after becoming fathers. Matilda and Nerja tell him that all four of them are childhood friends from the same village, and when they heard a new village was being formed, they volunteered to populate it. They came here together and decided to start their new lives near each other, and even built their houses at the same time. Talking about the past helps Rodden and Gerda forget their fight, and they decide to enjoy some nice alcohol instead. The next day, as Gerda is working with the villagers, someone comes to tell him that the knights have come to see Krina. He immediately rushes home and finds that a lot of people have gathered together in the commoner village, including the axe user boy. He gets mad at Alan for no reason and says that talentless losers should not be here. Krina stands up for Alan, declaring that he is here because he is really strong. The boy refuses to believe her and starts pointing fingers. Krina almost bites his finger off, but her dad pulls her back before she can create a ruckus. Just then, the village chief tells everyone to behave because the knights are here. Everyone makes way for the knights, led by Daddy Zenoff, who is a sword master. Krina is really excited to meet real knights, and before talking to her, Zenoff summons the village chief. After some small talk, Daddy Bowl Cut calls Krina and Gerda, who run to see the knights. Alan recalls how they started playing as knights 3 years ago, and now Krina might be taken away to become a real knight. He already starts feeling the bittersweet nostalgia of saying goodbye to his only friend, but things suddenly take a turn for worse as Gerda objects to something that the knight captain said. He says that Krina is only 5 years old and has never touched a real sword before, so she wouldn't stand a chance to pass the test he is suggesting. However, Daddy Xenoph says that since the girl is a sword lord, it is natural for her to win the fight. He even accuses Gerda of lying about his daughter being a sword lord to trick the nobles, and as Gerda tries to explain that it is not the case, the knight captain orders his deputy to start the preparations. Gerda pleads him to stop, but Xenoph says that lying about the tests of appraisal is a crime punishable by death, and they need to verify that Krina actually has the talent to be a sword lord. That is why they are going to organize a fencing duel, shocking everyone who hears that news. Gerda begs for mercy, saying that his daughter is not ready for a real duel yet, but Xenoph declares that if she can't prove her talent through the duel, her entire family will go on a family trip to the afterlife. Alan thinks that it is really unfair and the knights have lost their minds, but just then, Krina sees a knight bringing a sword for her, and she is mesmerized. As soon as she learns that she gets to use the sword, she immediately tells her dad that she will take part in the duel. Gerda can't believe her words, but he has no choice but to let her fight. Soon, everyone gathers around to see the duel between Krina, the young sword lord, and the knight vice captain, whose talent is being a spear user. Krina eagerly lunges at the vice captain, wielding a sword that is as tall as her. She is happy to exchange blows with the vice captain, who keeps parrying her attacks with a poker face. Everyone is shocked to see Krina swinging the sword like that, but Alan thinks that it is natural for her after she trained with him each day for the past 3 years. However, he is worried that she might not have enough skill and experience to hold her ground against a real knight. Just as he says this, the vice captain Lael makes his first offensive move and pushes Krina back. She immediately charges in for a counter, which makes Lael be on his guard, and he instinctively kicks her to a wall instead of facing her sword. Gerda gets hyper on seeing his girl kicked, but the knights subdue him before he can beat the snot out of Lael. Alan and his dad also get pinned by the knights, and he thinks that even though Krina is a sword god, fighting adults is too much for her. Krina falls to the ground after the kick, but then suddenly, she gets up and a blue aura surrounds her. Lael panics, realizing that Krina just activated an extra skill, and she immediately charges at him without any thoughts behind her stone-cold eyes. She begins pushing back the knight vice captain with her ruthless attack, and Alan is impressed by her abilities now. Lael has no answer to Krina's attacks, and then, she snaps his sword in two with a powerful strike. Xenoph immediately declares that the duel is over, and Krina is disappointed that the fight was so short. She thanks Lael for fighting with her and says that he is quite strong for an old man, which hits him where it hurts the most because he is only 24. He admits defeat and the entire village starts cheering on the girl that just beat the vice captain of the knights. Gerda is relieved that Krina is safe, and he is also incredibly proud of her. Rodden and Alan share the sentiment, and then Xenoph comes forward to commend Krina's talent. Gerda doesn't want to talk to him, but then the knight captain apologizes for his rude behavior earlier and asks to talk about Krina's future. Gerda is still upset and suspicious of him, but Xenoph tells him to bring his friends along for moral support. Well, Gerda takes up the offer and everyone gathers at the dining table in the village chief's house. The axe user boy and his dad are there too, and Alan thinks that he doesn't want to get lost in the sword lord's dust. Xenoph starts talking and says that he is glad that a sword lord was born in this village, but Gerda is still mad at him. However, he forgets all his rage when Xenoph tells the chief that their village will now be called Krina Village in the honor of the young sword lord. The knight captain then continues his monologue, saying that 3 years ago, a baron's son was found to be a sword lord. He was hired to serve the king but seemed weak, so they reappraised him and found that his talent was that of a normal swordsman. They also found that a lot of nobles had lied about their talents, which led to the policy of testing high-stakes talents thoroughly. He once again apologizes to Gerda for putting his daughter through a trial, and now Gerda understands the reasons behind it, so he decides to let it go. Xenoph asks him to continue raising Krina as he has done till now, and when she is 12, she can join the academy and become a knight serving directly under the king. The axe user Dagora asks Xenoph if he can also become a knight if he joins the academy, and his dad immediately begins explaining how his son is an axe user and he wants to become a knight too. Xenoph affirms and says that soon, a tutor will be dispatched to this village, and tells the boy to work hard to join the academy. Alan just observes everyone while stealing fruits from the table, when Krina says that they will go to the academy together. Dagora immediately says that dumb and talentless kids won't go to academy, so Krina starts fighting with him again. Xenoph is curious about the boy now, so Gerda introduces him and Rodden to him. The old knight immediately gets up to pay his respects to Rodden, the boar slayer, but Rodden is surprised that a knight captain knows his name. Zenoff explains that the Baron of this region loves the boar meat they supply him in winters. And he has also heard stories about Rodden, who is the MVP of their hunts. He praises him on the behalf of the Baron, and Alan realizes that his dad is really cool. They walk home after that, and Rodden tells Alan that even ordinary serfs like him can be recognized if they work hard. He tells Alan to be proud and work hard because he has his genes. Alan happily pulls out the fruits he smuggled to show his dad. And turns out he really has his genes because Rodden also stole a couple of them. Soon after that, Alan begins screaming like his sausage got stuck in his zipper, which is not possible because zippers have not been invented in his world yet. Instead, the reason for his excited screams is that he has finally leveled up after years of working hard. All his existing skills have leveled up, and on top of that, he has received a new skill called Enhance. Alan wonders if he can use the new skill to make his summons even stronger, and on that note, he notices that he can now create and summon F-rank creatures. He already expected that much, and wonders what new kind of creatures he can create by fusing the already existing ones. He steps into Delulu Land and begins wishing to summon a dragon at his pitiful level, and then begins checking out other improvements. He finds that his grimoire can now hold up to 30 creature cards, which gives him a 50% increase in his stats that he can get by summoning the creatures, although he realizes that he is progressing quite slowly because it has been 2 years since the last level up. He doesn't think too much of the crater he has left in the tree by throwing rocks at it daily. On the other hand, his mother is pregnant yet again, and Alan helps around with the chores around the house now. His parents begin wondering if it will be another boy or a girl this time, and Nercia hopes that it is a girl because then she gets to name her. Just then, Alan finds that his mana is full again, and he opens his grimoire to find another letter from the god of creation Elmia. He speaks the god's name out loud, and that earns him a sharp rebuke from his dad, who tells him not to take the god's name in vain. Alan doesn't want to hear his full lecture, so he distracts everyone by saying that the old scar on Rodden's arm has vanished. Rodden tells him that it is because he passed the trial of the gods during the boar hunt earlier. Alan is curious about that, and Rodden tells him that the trial of gods is a special event that sometimes happens when they hunt. They feel a sudden burst of energy and their wounds are completely healed. Alan realizes that what his dad just described is the process of leveling up, and the NPCs of this world call it the trial of gods. He thinks that his dad must be at a pretty high level because he is a veteran boar hunter, and compared to him, he is still stuck at level 1. Even though his summon skill has leveled up twice, Alan knows that he needs to hunt monsters to level up. But the problem is that unless it is for hunting, serfs can't leave their villages without permission. So he decides to soft launch his idea and says that it would be so nice to go hunting. Rodden, however, instantly shuts him down, saying that hunting is a dangerous activity, and kids should be nowhere near the forests. Well, Alan is disappointed by that, but later that night, he decides to check what is in the letter the devs sent him. As he expected, the devs have fixed the text glitch where his summoner class was not displayed at the Black Monument in the appraisal ceremony. Not only that, the devs have officially sent a divine oracle to the Pope so that he can be aware of the new job class, and now it will be shown properly in the future. On top of that, they have also addressed the issue about all of Alan's skills being stuck at E because the normal calculation method uses the growth rate to calculate one's potential. The devs have sent him a special potential display page that doesn't depend on the growth speed, and Alan checks it to find that he has pretty high stats on all fronts, except for attack and endurance. He has S rank on mana and intelligence, which makes sense for a summoner, but because he has chosen Hell mode, reaching his potential would be next to impossible. However, Alan is never afraid to grind, and he immediately decides to try his enchant skill on a grasshopper monster. He finds that the skill boosts the stats of his summoned creature, but has no effect on his stats. He then summons the boosted grasshopper that glows golden for a second, but just after that, his mom comes there and squishes it under her feet. The next day, Rodden leaves for a hunt and Alan finishes the household chores before getting on with his experimentation. He tries all combinations of existing creatures to create new ones, but he only succeeds when he fuses bugs with birds. The result is a grass-type creature somehow, and this logic is even stupider than Goku and Luffy combined. Anyway, Alan is eager to see what buffs the grass-type summon will give him, and he is super happy when he finds that it boosts his mana capacity, allowing him to perform even more summons and fusions. Alan is excited because this can help him grow much faster, and he immediately summons the creature, which is an apple with sticks for arms and legs. Alan realizes that the living apple is not built for combat either and checks that its special ability is called Aroma. He commands the apple to use the ability, and it suddenly sinks into the ground before creating a tall sapling that smells really sweet. Alan thinks that it is a pretty shitty ability to have, but his mom seems to love the aroma, so he decides to leave the sapling there. Later, Krina comes over to practice with Alan again, and even though he gets his ass kicked like usual, she notices that he has become a little better. Alan knows the reason behind this is his sword mastery skill that has reached level 3 after practicing with Krina daily, and on top of that, he now has more stats from his summoned creatures. After she leaves, Alan begins throwing rocks at the tree in his backyard, and he feels burnt out mentally because he has not leveled up even once yet. He also has to look after his younger brother Mash and help with the chores since his mom is busy creating more workers for the village. And he doesn't think that his stone throwing training is worth it. He has also created a small patch full of apple tree saplings, because its sweet scent reduces the mana recovery time by 6 hours. Later at night, Alan and Thersia eagerly wait for Rodden to return home, and they get worried because he was not supposed to return early tonight. Suddenly, they hear a commotion outside the house and find the villagers carrying an injured Rodden on a wooden board. Alan and Thersia run outside to help the villagers bring Rodden into the house, who is terribly injured with a huge wound on his stomach. Gerda says that Rodden took a boar fang straight to the gut, and if they didn't have a rare medicinal herb, he would have died before reaching home. Thersia asks how did he have the medicinal herb, and Gerda says that the Knight Captain gave him some cold coins the other day as an apology for how he behaved with Krina, and he used them to buy the herbs. Other villagers suddenly join the conversation, saying that it is the fault of the commoners that Rodden got injured, and they are ready to settle the matter in their own way. Just then, Mash comes there on hearing a commotion and begins crying, so Alan takes him back inside to sleep. Gerda also tells the villagers to get some rest and not start any fights, while he stays behind to watch over his best friend. Alan approaches him and meekly asks if a commoner is really to blame for his dad's injury, and Gerda affirms. He says that a few days ago, the village chief asked them to let commoners join the boar hunts, because boar meat is really precious, and even though most of it goes to the baron, the remaining meat is split between the hunters. The commoners can only get it by trading essential items for meat, and they never volunteer in the boar hunts because they are a bunch of wimps who know they can't handle a giant monster. However, this time was different because after they heard Knight Captain Zenoff praising Rodden as a hero, they thought that the commoners would be safe with him around. Gerda says that neither he nor Rodden were in favor of letting the commoners join the hunts, but they could not refuse an order from the chief. To make things worse, a lot of commoners didn't take practice seriously because they didn't want to take lessons from serfs who are a lower social class than them. Then, on the day of the hunt, they gave the commoners the job to keep the boar distracted while everyone attacked. But they didn't have the balls to do even that, and they ended up dropping their weapons and running. One of them was a clumsy idiot who fell on the ground, and Rodden took a boar tusk to his gut in the process of defending him. They managed to defeat the great boar somehow, and even saved Rodden's life with the medicinal herb. Gerda tells Alan and Nerja that he will bring over Rodden's share of the meat the next day, and asks them to stay strong. The next morning, Alan wakes up and finds his mother caring for his dad. He tells her that he will take over the job from her, but she tells him that she is fine. Just then, Rodden wakes up with a jerk, still thinking that he is in the middle of the hunt. His family is relieved to see that he has returned to his senses, and while they have an emotional moment, Alan realizes that he has not been using his time right till now. He was only focused on growing stronger, but there was no goal behind it. He now understands that this world is not a game for the people that live in it, including his family. The people living in this world are real, and his family is as real as them. Alan decides that he needs to put his power to good use to keep his family safe, especially because his dad won't be able to move for some time now. Just then, Gerda arrives there with Rodden's share from the hunt, and he is glad to see him up again. Gerda tells Rodden not to worry about anything and just focus on getting better, because the rest of the villagers will cover for his family this winter. Suddenly, Alan speaks up, asking his dad's permission to take up his jobs to help his family. He starts working the same day, starting by drawing water from a well, and then carrying heavy buckets that even an adult would struggle with. Everyone is shocked to see how Alan seems to be built different. But he has just decided to pull out all the brakes. He has maxed out his physical strength through his summons because that will let him help his family the most. And he is not worried about the attention it will get him, because they already have Krina to distract the outside world. After delivering water to his house, he goes to the fields to learn how to harvest potatoes from Gerda. Gerda tells him to use both his hands to uproot the potatoes, but Alan starts flexing by pulling out an entire bunch with just one hand. He claims that he gets this strength from his daddy and works hard in the field, harvesting all the potatoes in one day. Later, he stares at the harvested potatoes, thinking how unfair it is that the Baron gets to claim over half the potatoes the serfs cultivate. Just then, he hears some guests coming to their house, and it turns out to be the village chief as well as the idiot who was the cause behind Rodden's injury. The chief has brought some fruits as a gift, and the man apologizes for messing things up that led to Rodden getting hurt. While Rodden reacts benevolently and tells the man to be more careful if he wants to continue hunting, Derja is not really willing to forgive the idiot so easily. She lectures him that everyone has a family to return to, no matter what their social class, and he should not treat anyone's life so carelessly. The rest of the serfs come there just then to check up on Rodden, and Derja lets go of her anger on seeing their weird antics. The next day, Alan goes off alone to a field of wild grass and creates a wide area for his genius plan to help his family get through the winters. He summons the frogs in his inventory and protects his face using his hands as all the frogs jump on him before landing on the ground. Next, Alan sets up some noob-level traps and tells the frogs to use their provoke skill, hoping that it will attract some wild birds that he can trap and take home. However, when nothing comes even after a bit of waiting, he decides to call it quits. Just then, he sees a bird coming towards them and gets ready to catch it. But then he realizes that it is not an ordinary bird, but the B-rank monster called Alba Heron. The monster destroys the traps without even thinking, and then defeats the frogs one by one. Alan realizes that he is no match for a B-rank monster and starts fleeing. But then his status window pops up in front of him, and he thinks that after boosting his physical stats to the limit, he should be able to take down this monster. So he decides to fight back and immediately throws a stone at the monster's head, before charging ahead and hitting it with his sword. The monster hits him back, but then Alan summons a pack of dogs that bite the monster and keep it engaged. However, that doesn't last long either, as the bird monster quickly defeats all of them and Alan goes back to fight with his sword. The monster hits him again and he takes more damage this time because he has lost a bunch of buffs after his summons were defeated. He feels too weak to even stand up, and then the monster bird attacks him again. Alan somehow blocks its attack with his sword, but he feels that this might be game over for him. Alan wonders how can he survive the monster's attack when he suddenly has an idea that he has not actually tested out before. He summons the latest bug-type summons he had created and lets them loose on the bird monster. The caterpillar monsters begin to suck energy from the Albahiron, and it stops its attack, making Alan realize that he was right about their ability being useful for combat. He gets out from under the bird monster and decides to weaken it by constantly attacking it, and that way, he can avoid being killed after losing all his buffs. He summons another pack of doggos to attack the bird alongside the bugs, and they completely overwhelm it. Alan uses this chance to land a fatal blow on its head, and for a moment, the world becomes black and white for him. The very next moment, the monster drops dead and Alan's grimoire appears in front of him, telling him that he has defeated the Albahiron and obtained 100 experience points. Alan lets out a loud scream to declare his victory, and he feels like he is on the top of the world after defeating his first monster. Soon, he reaches home, dragging his precious hunt with him, and his family and friends are dumbfounded on seeing him with a D-rank monster. Derja asks him how did he even manage to take it down, and Alan makes the understatement of the month by saying that he saw the monster land on the ground near him, and then he took it by surprise and finished it. Krina is really impressed by Alan's amazing feat, but Mash is terrified of the dead monster. Rodden notices a cut on MC's face and asks if he is hurt anywhere else, and he replies that he is fine and even the wound on his face is starting to heal. Gerda examines the monster corpse and notices the bite marks on it left by the dogs. He asks Alan if he bit the monster as well, and to make sure his story stays consistent, he says that he was fighting on pure instinct, so he doesn't remember how it happened. Gerda doesn't know if he should laugh at the image in his head or be terrified of Alan's wildness, so he decides to process the monster instead. As he turns around to talk about the details with Rodden, Alan notices a big bump on Gerda's head, and he is pretty sure that he either got it from his wife or while practicing sword fighting with Krina. As he is giggling to himself, Gerda asks him for help, and they hang the Albahiron upside down to let its blood drain out. Gerda tells Alan that an Albahiron weighs about 60 kgs, and 40 kilograms of that is only blood and bones, so they don't get much meat out of it. But its feathers sell for a decent amount. Alan is grateful that Gerda is teaching him all this, but then his excitement vanishes when he realizes that they have to pay 60% of it to the Lord. Alan feels that is unfair, and Gerda tells him that good nobles ignore small E-ranked monsters like the horned rabbits, but they won't let the serfs keep a D-rank monster to themselves. Suddenly, Gerda cuts through the monster to extract its magic stone, and says that it also falls under the tax system, but it is useless to villagers like them anyway. Gerda gets an idea, and he says that if Rodden had not been injured because of the commoner's fault, Alan wouldn't have come across the Albahiron, and they can use that to guilt-trip the village chief and get a bigger cut from him. Alan realizes that his dad's best friend is not just a muscle brain, and he has ideas of his own about the matter. Soon after that, Gerda and Alan go to the chieftain, who is really happy to see the Albahiron corpse, and Gerda tells him that they are willing to turn over the feathers as tax and keep the rest of the monster corpse for themselves. The chief doesn't like that idea and says that the Lord has asked for even more meat this year, so his hands are tied too. Gerda says that they will give him the magic stone as well, and the chief is still not satisfied. That is Gerda's clue to guilt-trip him, and he begins saying that if their village's hero Rodden was not injured, they wouldn't be in such a tricky situation. He says that Rodden's family is going to starve over the winter with him in bed, and Alan starts acting like he is going to faint because of hunger. Luckily, the village chief is easy to manipulate, and he agrees to the deal. Alan thanks him, and then asks if they can also keep the meat of the Albahirons they hunt in the future. He knows that is going to be tricky, and Gerda loudly tells him not to be too excited because he won't get lucky enough to hunt another D-rank monster anytime soon. The chief believes that and laughs it off, saying that if they are lucky enough to hunt an Albahiron, they can keep its meat. Alan and Gerda are happy that their plan was a complete success, and soon after that, Alan sets up another trap to hunt down an Albahiron. The trap works out as a charm like the last time, and this time, two monsters come swooping down to attack the frogs. Alan is wiser after the first battle, and he immediately recalls the frogs to not lose any stats. He then sends the bugs to suck the monster's energy and then hits them in the head with a stone to disturb their balance. After that, he sends his dogs to bite them, and then finishes them off with a blow to their head with his wooden sword. After he defeats the two monsters, he recalls his summons, and he is proud of himself because after hunting a bunch of monsters, this is the first time he has not lost any summons. Suddenly, his grimoire pops up and tells him that he has finally got 1,000 experience points and reached level 2. Alan is overjoyed on hearing this, and he immediately checks his stats to find that his health and mana are fully restored, and all his stats have improved by a lot too. He hugs his grimoire because it has been 6 years since he came to this world, and he has finally leveled up. He decides to let his family in on his little secret too, and takes the Albahirons home. Rodden is shocked to see that Alan defeated 2 of them this time, but he doesn't say anything. Immediately after that, Alan goes to his sword training with Krina, and he is a lot faster now. He can dodge her attacks consistently, but he is busy thinking about how he has enough meat to last the winters, and all he needs now is firewood. He thinks that if he hunts 20 more Albahirons, he can reach level 3, but that seems impossible to do this winter. He gets so distracted by his thoughts that Krina sneaks behind him and lands a hit on his head, keeping her winning streak alive. Later that night, Alan talks to his parents, telling them to tighten their seatbelts because his story might take them on an emotional roller coaster. He says that when he was 1 year old, he had an oracle from God Elmia, who told him that he would grant him power and wisdom. He tells his parents this is why he is stronger and smarter than the average people, but the God of creation also gave him a great handicap, saying that he would face challenges that 100 people could not overcome together, and he had to use his strength and wisdom to overcome them. Derja is shocked to hear this and starts asking God how could he give her child such a harsh ordeal. Rodden, on the other hand, remarks that Alan must have passed a trial today because the wound on his face has healed. Alan realizes it only then, and Rodden tells him that he knows what it is like to overcome the trials of God. Suddenly, Derja asks why did Alan not have any talent at the appraisal ceremony then, and he explains that he got another oracle from Elmia about that. Rodden scolds him and tells him to take the god's name with proper respect, and Alan apologizes before continuing. He says that his job class was too new to be displayed in the appraisal ceremony, and his stats were low because the normal method depends on his growth rate, which is slowed down because of his handicap. His parents are curious about his talent now, but Alan can't tell them about being a summoner since people might start fearing that he can control dangerous monsters. He says that he doesn't know what his talent is, and he also hides the fact that he has reincarnated her from another world. Dercia suddenly hugs Alan, asking why did he not tell them earlier, because she thought he was a psycho when he threw rocks at the tree each day. But he was just practicing to overcome the trials of gods. Rawdon asks him what he wants to do next, and Alan tells him that he plans to face the trials head-on. Rawdon thinks that is a good idea, and tells him to be brave and face the challenges God Elmia has prepared for him, and if he is stuck somewhere, he can always ask them for help. He also tells Alan to keep it a secret because things might get tricky if he is accused of lying about an oracle. However, Rawdon wants to tell Gerda and boast about his son got an oracle from the creator god himself. And that certainly beats Krina being a sword lord. Soon after that, Alan has hunted a buttload of Albahiron, and he takes them to the market along with Gerda, who plans to teach him everything about doing business. Gerda tells him that their boar hunt was successful too, because without commoners, they had no problems. Alan asks him about the difference between serfs and commoners, and Gerda tells him that their social status is different, and the commoners don't pay the 60% tax like serfs. Instead, they pay 3 gold coins per adult and 1 gold coin per child as their annual tax. Alan is intrigued and moves on to his main question about how serfs can become commoners. Gerda replies that they have to pay a tribute of 10 gold coins per person in their family, or the Lord can personally reward them with a promotion. Alan realizes that since his mom is constantly popping out kids, he needs to earn 50 gold coins quickly or it will become 60 the next year. Soon, they go to a trading company and get salt in exchange of the dried monster meat. After that, Gerda takes Alan to different kinds of stores and he learns the exchange rate for different items. The next time, Alan goes to the market alone and begins doing research about how much the items would cost if he bought them with money. After a little bit of research, he finds that 1 packet of Albahiron jerky sells for 1 silver coin, and if he wants to earn 50 gold coins, he needs to hunt 500 of them. He decides not to think about the grinding he will have to do for that, and goes to a medical store and asks for mana recovery potions. The shopkeeper replies that they don't keep such fancy stuff in their cheap stores, and Alan decides to look at other medicinal herbs and draw their sketches in his grimoire instead. He then asks the shopkeeper if he has Mueller's flowers, and 1 coin man gets defensive on hearing that name because the last time he sold them was to Gerda, who stormed into his store and begged him to sell it to him. The shopkeeper says that Gerda was really persistent despite having only half the money to buy it, and he promised to pay the rest later. He literally got on his knees and begged that he needed the flowers to save his friend, and the shopkeeper had to give in. He is still frustrated about that even though Gerda paid him later, and Alan suddenly gives him a pack of meat as his thanks because the Mueller's flowers saved Rawdon's life. After that, Alan goes to a blacksmith shop and stares at the weapons that cost 50 silver coins each, so he decides not to dream of them for now. Suddenly, the axe user Dogora comes there and asks Alan what the hell is he doing at his father's shop. Alan doesn't want to bother with the rude brat, so he tells him that he was just looking and walks off. However, Dogora punches him for no reason and tells him to become his minion just like Pal, the chief's son. Alan decides to fight back to keep Dogora in check from the beginning. He puts his luggage on ground and points his wooden sword at Dogora, asking him to get whatever weapon he wants so that they can fight fair and square. Dogora runs to get his baseball bat while Alan and Pal greet each other, and as soon as he returns he starts swinging his wooden bat. Alan easily dodges and blocks his attacks, and he can tell that Dogora has the attack power of an axe user, but he is nothing special compared to Krina. Alan rushes towards him and disarms him with a swift strike and Dogora falls on the ground after being defeated. Alan uses this chance to aura farm like a slick samurai and tells him that he will be back to trade at his shop someday. Soon after that, Rawdon starts feeling better and gets ready to work again. A few months pass, and Dogora becomes a regular visitor to Krina's house that has become a training ground for all the kids. Pal is there too and Mash practices with Krina, who is taking it super easy on him. Alan realizes that his brother might have the skills to become a spear user, and while he is distracted, Dogora decides to land a hit on him. However, his movements are still too crude and Alan only dodges him to make him fall on the ground. One night after that, as Alan is watching his baby sister fall asleep, Rawdon and Gerda come home and they look really worn out. Dercia asks them what happened and they tell her that the Baron has ordered them to hunt 15 wild boars this year instead of 10, and that is why they have let commoners join them again. Dercia asks who the hell thought that is a good idea after Rawdon got injured, but they can't refuse it because it is an order from the Baron. What is worse, they have to hunt 20 boars the next year, and if they can't do that, the Lord is ready to bring in more serfs from other places. which is bad news for the village because serfs who can't hunt will have their land taken away from them. Rawdon says their only option is to go on hunts more often because they can't trust the commoners, even though this method is also risky. Suddenly, Alan says that even if they go on hunts more frequently and meet the quota, it will keep on increasing until they have to bring serfs from other places or let the commoners join. He says that letting the commoners join them is a good idea, and even though Gerda tells him to be silent when adults are talking, Rawdon asks him what he is suggesting. Alan says that he was blessed with wisdom by the gods, which basically means his experience from playing countless games. He is confident that he can turn even the most useless noobs into strong players and asks Rawdon and Gerda to leave the commoners to him. The next day, Alan goes to the village gate where all other serfs are gathered dressed like ostriches. They are eager to have Rawdon back on the team, as well as about his son joining them. Rawdon tells them that they are going to adopt the hunting strategy that Alan came up with. But he is not old enough to actually join hunting, so he will be watching them from the sideline. While Alan politely greets the hunters and accepts his role as an observer, he really wishes to join the team and get some experience points by defeating the great boars. However, he could not convince Rawdon to let him join the hunt, and in the end, he could barely manage to come along. Alan thinks that joining the hunt is not the most important thing right now, and his focus should be on training the commoners properly so that no one is injured like his dad. Just then, the commoner who was the cause of Rawdon's injury last year comes there and apologizes once again. He asks Rawdon not to cover for his pathetic ass if he fumbles this time, but Rawdon asks him to focus on doing his job and trust the team with the rest. With that, Gerda leads the entire group outside the village, and Alan takes a moment to witness the scenery around him because this is his first time leaving the village. He thinks that it is just the beginning, and he will soon spend a lot of time here to level up. Alan quickly notices the White Dragon Mountain in the distance, which is the home of the great boars that come down from the mountain once the weather starts to get cold. He has also heard stories that a legendary white dragon lives on the summit of the mountain, but he doesn't know how true that is. However, as he was busy doing this entire internal monologue, the hunting group has left far ahead and they ask Alan if he is chickening out now. He immediately runs to catch up with them, and soon, the entire group reaches their destination. Rawdon tells everyone to take their positions just as they have planned earlier. Soon, two of the serfs attract a great boar towards them, and they alert everyone who is hiding nearby to get ready. Alan is terrified on seeing the giant monster, but the serfs are ready to face it head on. They stand their guard and, on Gerda's command, stab the boar's mouth with their spears, causing it to stop charging because of the pain. That is the cue for Rawdon and the rest of the team to attack the boar from the sides, letting fountains of blood erupt from its body. Alan watches everything from the sidelines and realizes that the strategy his dad and other serfs used to fight the boars is quite raw, and they couldn't trust the commoners to play a role in it. He plans to do things differently, and as he realizes that the boar is near its death, he tells the commoners to rush ahead and attack it. The commoners follow his command and join the serfs because they only need to land one hit to get their share of experience and level up. The serfs are still not confident about letting the wimps hold spears, but luckily, nothing goes wrong and the commoners stab the boar once before it falls. The commoners feel power flowing through their body and realize that they leveled up for the first time in their lives. The serfs also celebrate that there were no accidents, and they managed to hunt the first boar of the season successfully. Alan is happy that his strategy worked out, but he is still pissed that he got no experience for being the team's strategist. Just then, the commoners approach him and thank him for helping them level up without putting anyone's life in danger. Alan doesn't really feel happy on receiving their gratitude because he would much rather have some of their experience points instead. A couple days later, Alan helps some villagers to draw water from the well, and they ask if he is going to join the hunt again. He affirms, saying that he will stay in the sidelines as usual, and then asks the villagers to convince Rawdon to let him join the hunt as well. Everyone is scared of Rawdon and tells Alan that they will get kicked in the balls if they suggest this to him. The village butcher is also there, and he tells Alan that he would gladly exchange places with him to experience the thrill of the hunt. But since his wife is pregnant, he doesn't want to take any risk for her sake. Hearing that gives Alan an idea, and he asks the butcher to do him a favor. He takes him to his backyard where he has hung a bunch of albahirone to drain their blood. The butcher is dumbfounded on seeing so many of them at once, and Alan asks him if he can butcher them for him. He offers to pay him with 2 packets of meat for each albahirone he can process, and the butcher finds that deal too good to pass. Alan leaves the job to him because he plans to sell the albahirone meat to earn real money and buy commoner status for his family. He thinks that getting a butcher from the town to help him would be too costly, and if he takes help from a serf, he will have to make fewer trips to the town as well. The next day, the villagers go hunting again, and this time, there are more commoners with them. The new commoners are not sure if they can pull off Alan's strategy, but their seniors assure them that it is completely safe and they can easily level up using that. Alan also thinks that it is a good idea to let the commoners grow in number slowly so that they can soon have enough members to form 2 teams to hunt more boars. However, that makes him suspicious of the Lord's increasing demand for boar meat, because it doesn't look like his domain is lacking in food. Alan's thought process is interrupted as the serfs bring the boar with them. Everyone follows the usual strategy of tanking the hit and then attacking the boar from the sides, and the commoners join in too. Within seconds, the boar bleeds to death and everyone rejoices on another success. The commoners feel the power from leveling up again, but they are not alone this time as Alan has also leveled up. He feels super happy that his plan worked out, even though he thought it was silly initially. Earlier, as the serfs pulled the wild boar behind them, Alan sneakily summoned his grasshopper right in front of the boar so that it could get squished. That technically counted as Alan landing a hit on the boar, and he got his share of experience when the monster died. He is happy that he can grind more easily and prays for the grasshopper that sacrificed his life for his glorious cause. A few months later, it is the New Year's Eve and Alan and Krina get invited to a party at the chief's house. They come home with candies and gifts and Alan thinks that it is the chief's way to thank them for meeting the quota of 15 boars. Once they reach home, they find that their families have already started the barbecue. As they enjoy the barbecue together, Gerda asks the kids if the chief said something about them, and Alan replies that he thanked them for meeting the quota. Gerda then notices the bottle of booze behind them, and as soon as Alan confirms that the chief gave it to him, both Rodden and Gerda get excited. Alan was counting on that, and he uses this chance to launch his master plan. He asks his brother Mash if he wants to practice spear fighting with him because he has the talent to be a spear user. Both the adults get confused by this and ask Alan to just hand over the bottle to them before heading out. But he refuses, saying that the chief gave the bottle to him since they didn't come to his party. Both of them tell him that he can't even drink yet, and Alan replies that he will let them have the bottle if they beat him in a game. Gerda immediately agrees even though Rodden warns him to be careful, and then Alan asks what will he get if he beats them instead. Rodden asks what he wants and Alan says that if he wins, he gets to wield a spear in all the boar hunts this coming year. Rodden gives Gerda a look that says that they have been played, but they can't go back on their word now. They agree to Alan's conditions and ask what kind of game they are going to play. He replies that they are going to play arm wrestling, and the men think that they have it in the bag. Gerda goes up first, telling Alan that he won't hold back against him because there is booze on the line. But he doesn't know that Alan has stocked up his summon cards to buff his physical strength. As soon as the contest starts, Gerda starts dominating, but then Alan uses his real strength and pushes him back. Gerda can't resist his strength despite putting full effort and Alan slams his fist on the table. After doing his uncle dirty in front of his girl, Alan challenges his dad for the next match. As they hold hands, Alan gets emotional on feeling his dad's hands that are rough and calloused because he works so hard for his family. Rodden also feels sentimental that his kid has gotten strong enough to compete with him now, and Alan wants to show him that he is a full-fledged adult now. However, as the contest begins, he is unable to even move Rodden's hand, who easily defeats him. Alan realizes that he couldn't win against his dad, who must have attack stats over 300. He feels proud on seeing how strong his dad is, and hands over the bottle of booze to him. As Rodden and Gerda start drinking, Alan calculates that their strength should be around C and D rank respectively. That gives him a benchmark about how strong normal people in this world are, and he decides to work hard to reach their level. Meanwhile, the ladies tell Alan not to be too upset by his defeat when he is clearly not even bothered by it. Rodden tells him that he is already stronger than Gerda, but he still won't join the hunts until he can beat him. Alan agrees to his condition and thinks that if he can level up his summon skill once more before the winter arrives, he can probably beat Rodden and join the hunt. A few months after that, Alan's summon skill reaches level 4, and he unlocks E-rank creatures along with a new creature type. He has to fuse already existing creatures to make them, but this time he has enough mana to experiment freely. As Alan is checking out the improvements in his stats, he notices a new skill called Storage, and as he activates it, he finds a square black hole in the middle of his grimoire. He immediately tests it out by putting sticks and stones inside of it. and finds that he can store an unlimited amount of stuff inside the storage box as long as it fits the entrance. That confuses Alan because the storage skill definitely seems like an in-game skill, and a level 3 beginner like him should not have it. He wonders if the devs made a mistake by giving the storage skill to him when he doesn't have the need for it, but then convinces himself that the reason behind that will be soon revealed to him. Later that day, he decides to create E-rank insects, but he can't manage to do anything. He wonders if he doesn't have enough mana for that, but turns out he needs magic stones to create E-rank creatures. Luckily, Alan has some E-rank magic stones from horned rabbits stored with a cache he is hoarding, and he retrieves them to summon stronger bugs. However, that doesn't work either, and he decides to toss the magic stone inside the storage to experiment. That works perfectly, and he is able to create an E-rank butterfly that is quite bigger than he expected. Just then, his mother comes there and Alan somehow hides the oversized bug-type Pokemon behind his back until she leaves. Next, he summons an E-rank animal that turns out to be a saber-toothed tiger, and Alan pisses his pants on seeing that. However, the saber-tooth is really obedient and strong, and it also boosts his physical strength by 10 points. Next, Alan decides to fuse the creatures to create new types, but he discovers that he needs magic stones for that too. He realizes that he needs to hunt more horned rabbits and asks his dad about them. And Rodden tells him that horned rabbits won't come to the village anymore because they dug a trench all around the village last year. Alan is disappointed to hear this, but he soon finds an opportunity to learn more. As Krina turns a sparring session with Dogora into a spanking session, Alan asks Pell about magic stones because he is the most well-educated guy among them. Pell tells him about how magic stones harvested from monsters can be used to make magic tools, but only magic stones above D rank are actually useful. He says that E-rank magic stones are so worthless that he can find them lying around, and he soon finds one in their training ground itself. This gives Alan new hope, and he goes around the village to collect all the magic stones he can find. After that, he goes to the grasslands and creates all the summons he can. As he wonders what their abilities are, a strong gust of wind causes the bird card to blow away, and his hawk comes out to warn him of danger. Just then, a baby boar attacks him and knocks him to the ground, but his grass-type summon heals him. The butterfly puts the boar in a trance while the saber-tooth finishes it off, and when a second boar attacks him, a boar-type creature comes out to defend against it. However, all that was Alan becoming Delulu and wasting our time because he thinks that is how a summoner is supposed to fight. He knows that there are no gameplay guides in this world, and he has to figure out everything himself. He feels that all creature classes have a particular role in combat, and he decides to base his strategy around them. Alan calls out all his creatures and thinks that insects apply debuffs to the enemy while beasts do damage. Birds gather and relay information. Grass types heal and stone type summons defend. He realizes that he can do the job of an entire party by himself, and that is why the summoner class has so high potential. He now understands that the storage skill was given to him so that he could safely carry thousands of magic stones with him at all times, and he swears to become the strongest person in the world. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.